This is the Marketing Podcast Network.
Welcome to Uncorking a Story, the podcast that introduces you to the rich world of storytellers who share their personal journeys, creative processes, and the stories behind their stories, one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Mike Carlin, and I'm thrilled to be part of your writing journey. If you're an aspiring writer, a literary enthusiast, or simply someone who believes in the transformative power of words, you've come to the right place. Every week, we'll pop the cork on the world of successful storytellers and give you a healthy pour of inspiration, insight, and empowerment. My mission is to help writers like you realize your full potential through the transformative and therapeutic power of writing. Whether you're just starting your literary voyage or looking to refine your craft, I'm here to provide you with the knowledge, inspiration, and encouragement you need to embark on your own storytelling adventure. So, are you ready to uncork your story and let your creativity flow? Uncorking a Story is about to begin. Sit back, relax, and let the transformative magic of storytelling whisk you away. Welcome to Uncorking a Story. Link Forrester possesses a rare blend of humility, faith, and a good sense of humor, all of which have enabled him to grow through the trials of becoming a parent much earlier than planned, a risky career change, and the tragic death of his son. After graduating from Auburn University, Link began his career in sales at IBM. 5 years later, he took a leap of faith into the financial services industry, where he continues to lead a thriving financial planning and wealth management business. He joins me today on Uncorking a Story to talk about his life and new book, The Side Road: Finding Joy and Purpose Through the Twists and Turns of Life. Welcome to Uncorking a Story, Link.
Mike, great to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, very excited to have you here. And I always begin the same spot with each and every guest, Link, which is with the following question. Where does your story as an author begin?
Yeah, my story began a few years ago. My son wanted me to write a book, and he went so far as to set up maybe 5 interviews with me with writing coaches and script, a company called Script, and writing ghostwriters, all of that. And after all that, I said, well, Cole, why don't I just try it out? Let me just see if I can do it. So I just started writing some life stories. And I said, well, after about 25 life stories, I said, well, if I was going to write a book, what would the chapter titles look like? And did that and started putting a story in a chapter and writing about it. And the truth is, I ended up kind of liking it. I wish I had more to write about. It's a pretty quick read, but I did enjoy it, and it's been fun. I think Cole probably thought it was going to be a little bit more of a business book, but it ended up being more of a life book. It does have a lot of some business, some funny, just stories, and it's a fun read. It's a quick book. The publisher on the back of the book says it's an 82-minute read, so it's not a huge commitment if someone decides to take it on.
Well, I can imagine some competitive people in my audience saying I could do it in 70 minutes. But so it's not like it's not like you were in second grade and you had a teacher who saw your prowess with the written word and encouraged you to write. This is something that occurred to you later in life. I'm curious, your son Cole seems to be the catalyst here. What did he see in you that encouraged him to set up all of these interviews with writing coaches and such?
I think I am somewhat of a storyteller, and whether it's stories or jokes or whatever it may be. Unfortunately, good or bad, I'm full of a lot of that. It seems like, and he is in a bunch of communities, and I've been in the profession I'm in for a long time. He says, "Dad, you need to write a book." You say you've got so many things to talk about and so many good stories to tell, and he was relentless. He would not let me escape. So, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad he talked me into doing it. It was a lot of fun.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about The Side Road. So, give us an overview of what this is all about. I love the subtitle, Finding Joy and Purpose Through the Twists and Turns of Life.
The book really focuses on three main sort of life issues. The first is my wife and I got married at a really young age and had a child much earlier than most. We were in college, and most marriages don't survive that kind of start. And we've been married now 37 years. So I tell everybody if she's leaving me, I'm going with her. So so far so good. And the second is just sort of leaving a normal kind of job and getting into my own business and an industry where most people fail. It's got about a 90% fail rate, and it's all worked out. And then, we had an event in our life, a tragedy that we lost a child. He was in college, and this was 13 years ago. And, most marriages don't make it through that kind of stress and tragedy. And so it just talks about kind of who we are, things that are important to us, ways that we've overcome and persevered. And it has some funny family stories, travel stories. I'm a golfer, so it has some fun golf stories. So has some funny, fun parts as well. Not all serious.
So I assume, given your geographic location and the fact that you're a golfer, were you glued to the TV this weekend like I was?
I was on Sunday for sure. I thought it was a great day. We had my parents. One thing about us right now is we have 5 grandchildren, but we also have all of our parents together. So we're dealing with young people issues and old people issues. And so we had my parents and Carla's parents over, and we watched the Masters. And we were out of town for Easter, and so my mom made us an Easter dinner. So it was a lot of fun. Normally, Masters and Easter are many times on the same day. This year they were as far apart as they've ever been, it seems like. But yeah, we were glued to it, and that's a special place for sure.
Yeah, Scotty Scheffler's having quite the season this year. He's pretty unstoppable.
He's the real deal. He could run the table.
Yeah, I agree. Although, part of me, of course, is pulling for Rory. I wanted to see him, close out his Grand Slam, but wasn't going to happen this year.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go back to each of those 3 big beats that you spoke about when introducing sort of the background of the book, and the first one, of course, being having a child at a very young age, sort of unplanned. Sounds like you and your wife were college sweethearts. Just kind of walk me through that period of your life. There's certainly scary time. Just thinking about like the road you have ahead of you, and then sort of a curveball. I like to maybe call them curveballs. Tell me, just if you wouldn't mind just walking me through that period of your life.
Yeah, we were at Auburn. I don't let this usually out too early in a conversation, but my wife and I were both college cheerleaders at Auburn, and that's how we met. And so we were, life seemed to be going great. We were traveling to all the football games, and or with a bunch of our friends, and it was a fun time in life. And then all of a sudden, our whole world changed, and it was great. I was in love, and it was easy for me to say, "Look, we're just going to make this work, no matter what." And thankfully, our parents were able to. I had about a year left in school, so they helped us finish school, and we had our baby there in college, and he's now 36 years old, has 4 kids himself, and lives right across the street from me. My whole family, we all live within a mile of each other. My family has separation issues, but yeah, it was a unusual start, and we had 3 more kids after that, and so a total of 4, and it was it was a great run, and it was a time for us to figure out what's important to us, what's important about us as a couple, what's important about our faith, what do we believe, how are we going to raise a family, what are we going to be about. And so it was a fun time.
Yeah. I mean, certainly big conversations to have at a young age, but you made, the hard, I guess the hard decision, but it sounds like for you, maybe an easy decision.
It was easy. I mean, for me, I was in love. I mean, I married way up. I mean, it was a good deal for me, man. I mean, I won. Um, I'm no problem. But it was rough for her parents in particular. We really didn't know each other. I remember the first line her dad ever told me was, "Link, time can heal a lot of wounds." so uh, so I set the bar really low for them, and I think I've been able to like exceed their expectations
Well,
from
sounds
that time.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. So then, kind of jumping to your second beat, which was kind of working, and then was it 5 years into your career you decide to roll the dice and take a risk? Just tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I was at IBM. It was a great place for it, to start a career, and it was a great job. And I was down in Orlando, Florida, for a while. And back then, IBM, you'd be in the field for a while, and they'd move you to a staff job and then a field job. And so I was having a great year, and I went to my boss and I said, "Look, you've asked me to sell this much money, and you're going to tell me this many things. You're going to pay me this much money. Well, I think I'm going to sell four times that. Are you going to pay me like four times as much money?" And say, "Oh no, it didn't work that way. You're only going to get like 130% of your target earnings, blah 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 blah." And that's when I knew I had to get out of the quota territory business, and I had to get into contract sales. And so I was on a mission to figure out something else, and that's when I met this man, Bill Goodwin, who just changed my life and convinced me that, in the time being in the insurance industry was what was going to be, it was going to change my life. And it did. And then now we've all morphed into wealth managers and financial planners. And so it's been a fun run. So yeah, it was great. And I'll be forever grateful to Bill for convincing me that it was the right thing for me.
But I know you had a young family at this period of time. At least one child. Did you have more than one by that point in time?
Yeah, we had two, and then right when I started, we found out we were expecting a third, and so I sort of call it naked into the wind, Yeah, and I just got exactly what I wanted. I didn't. I had unlimited potential, but no guaranteed income. So it was, and so it's been great. It was a great run. It's good to do when you're young. That was a great time to be young and kind of focused and headstrong. Uh, and it's also now a great business to be old in. So it's a win-win now.
Yeah, but I imagine kind of going from, the safety and security of an IBM where you definitely have income coming in, plus your commissions, going into a completely commission based business. I imagine that you must have had a couple of sleepless nights with a few kids and one on the way.
Yeah, I drank the Kool-Aid though. I was convinced if I put in the work, it would work out, and and it did. So I'm thankful.
All right, and then I'm sure the beat that you might least want to talk about, but certainly one that you mentioned was losing your son, a college age son. What can you share with us about that?
Oh, I don't mind talking about Tyler. Our life was sort of going great, and we were getting ready to go to Fourth of July on holiday, and we got the phone call that sort of changes your life. And he was a great kid, and it's just it's just hard to believe that that can happen to you. I think, man, I just so it yeah, that wound is even there today. That doesn't really change. It gets a little less fresh, and but you're in a club that you really don't want to be in. Losing a child is the worst. We did have 20 great years with him, and again, he was a great kid, and but that kind of loss is just it's devastating. I'd say thankfully we still had a younger child. Tyler was our second, but we still had a child that was in high school. It was in eighth grade. So that having, we had to show up for her. We had to be parents. We had to, you know, we couldn't just check out. And I think that probably helped a lot. Um, Clearly our faith is important to us, and we know that we believe that we're sort of stewards of our kids. They're not our own. We're here to help them and manage them, but we're not. Their days are numbered here on earth. So God knew the day He made them that He was going to take them home, and when He was 20. I just wasn't ready for that. I just didn't know it. But yeah, it's tough, but it's our family rallied together, and we're a real close family, and we've been able to persevere.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is a club nobody wants to be a part of. I've got 3 college-age kids right now. Today's their birthday, actually. They're triplets. And
Wow.
yeah, today's their 22nd birthday, and I can't help but put myself in your shoes, thinking if I got that call, I don't know how I would be. But I like you, I do have a strong faith-based center, and I don't know how you would get through something like that without believing that there's something greater, or believing that there could be a purpose to it. Um, so my own personal reflection on that.
Yeah, I agree. Are all three of the kids in the same school? Or are they
Now
in different schools?
I've got 2 at the University of Connecticut, so just a little plug for the Yukon Huskies. Um,
Yeah, congratulations.
thank you very much. 2 years in a row. And then I've got one at Sacred Heart University, which is a smaller school here in Connecticut as well. So
Yeah,
they're all graduating in 3 or so weeks, and it's a great
you're
time.
gonna get a raise.
I think I tell that to everybody, like, why are you smiling so much? I'm like, I'll tell you why I'm smiling. I'm like, because I stopped paying 3 tuitions and
Yeah,
3 different rents. Now they're all going to be living at home for a bit, which I'm totally fine with.
yeah.
I'm totally fine with that. So it's not like we're having wild and crazy times here. It's like my wife and I go to bed at 10 o'clock and we watch an episode of Quincy. I mean, that's really what. Um, but I do want to talk about the subtitle of your book, which is Finding Joy and Purpose Through the Twists and Turns of Life. I had an author on this show a couple years ago. Her name is Aileen Weintraub, and she had this great phrase, which was because she was talking about a memoir that she wrote about postpartum or prepartum depression, really, which is something that no one ever talks about. We hear about postpartum depression, but not prepartum depression. Anyway, she had this great quote, which was, "Life doesn't throw you curveballs. Life is the curveball." So it's like almost like expecting you would just like as long as you're here having this human experience, we're going to be having, changes and challenges and things like that. And I guess the question is, how do you hit the curveballs, or how have you been managing to hit the curveballs that have been thrown at you in life?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest key is we sort of have an eternal worldview. I mean, we believe that this isn't all it, this isn't the end game, so relax. We're made for eternity. We're made for another place. And this is a short period of time. And keeping that in mind, and knowing that, you know, hopefully I'll see Tyler again, and that, and we look forward to that day. And so I think that's one of the reasons. Two is, we're not in control. It's not we're, our faith and who we are. We believe that in a sovereign God, and He's got a plan for us, and and it's going to be full of challenges, and I mean that's what we're here for. And can we glorify God in those times, and can we persevere and get through, and know that we're this won't be forever. This is a temporary time. So
Right. I think it was Carrie Underwood who had that great song, Temporary Home. Um,
Yeah.
and it sparks this other thought of, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience for the time.
Yeah. That's great.
So that's
Yeah.
another little bit of wisdom I've learned along the way. Um,
I like that.
and it also kind of brings to mind for me the idea of like why have strength if you can't use it or lean into it. So in other words, like the challenges we have in life are there for us to help us grow, not necessarily there to punish us in a way. That's another way I kind of go through, like when I'm grieving something, and I lost my brother last year. Um, really that was it was help like adopting that kind of mindset was actually helpful for me because otherwise it's like, okay, well, it's I'm just gonna live like a woe is me life, thinking about all the negative things that happen along the way. But if you can reframe it to say, okay, well, this happened for me, it happened to teach me something, and then eventually maybe you come to the lesson that it taught you. That's just another way of kind of, yeah, kind of getting through it, or learning from it, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, both in tragedy and success too. I mean, success is fleeting as well. I mean, you can't if you're putting all your hope in, the things that you have or your experience here on earth or even good things like your family or whatever. I just think it leads to disappointment. You're going to be disappointed, and find something bigger than that, something more important, and live for that. I
Yeah.
think that's, but losing a brother, losing a child, it's life is hard. I mean, it's hard. I mean, losing a dog is hard. Any of these experiences are just challenging, and it just takes it. It's just hard. That'll be with you for a while. I know. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I mean it is. I like to say it is what it is, but it just is. It just is.
Yeah.
One of the ways I like to get to know my guests a little bit more is by throwing a couple of random pop culture questions at them. So,
Okay. I'm probably gonna fail this.
no, there's no way to fail. There's no way to fail. But I'm curious, what was some of your favorite TV shows when you were a kid, when you were growing up?
It's funny. I can't remember that many, but like Magnum PI or Fantasy Island, maybe, or
You did
that's
not.
kind of the
You did not fail. You did not fail because those are two classics.
the plane. What else? Um, Dallas might have been around when I was young. Yeah, so those were. I didn't watch a ton of TV when I was young, but that seems like those were around.
Dallas had probably one of the greatest TV themes of the 80s. Just the dan 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 dan. I'm probably tone deaf, but I remember just being able to watch. My parents would let us stay up late to watch just the opening of Dallas. We couldn't take the subject matter. I mean, we were very young. I have a twin brother. We were very young, um, but Dallas was great. But Fantasy Island, man, I love Fantasy Island. It's kind of a dark show if you think about it. Um,
Yeah.
it's one of these shows that it's like, okay, well, let's see what happens if you get what you really want, and it's not always a positive experience for those going to Fantasy Island.
Oh, how about the Love Boat? Love Boat that could have been there. That was in there.
I could write a dissertation on the Love Boat. I started rewatching it during the pandemic when we were sort of housebound, and just so cheesy, but so great. I mean, such a great cheesy show. I love it. Nothing bad to say about Love Boat.
All
Um,
right. Well, I think I'm out.
See, well, you didn't fail. You didn't fail the test. How about music? What did you like listening to growing up?
um, it's funny now. I listen to country. I love country, but I don't really think I listened to country when I was young. I mean, I think we listened to pop music. We listened to rock music. Uh, um, but like I wasn't a big Rolling Stones guy. I wasn't, but even though I love them now, I mean, I like the music for my age a lot better now than I think I did when I was young.
Hmm.
Um, so music's probably not a great one for me. I didn't listen to a ton of music when I was growing up either. But it seems like my group sort of listen to more pop stuff as opposed to, I don't really like that much anymore. I sort of like either the rock or country.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I got into country music when my kids were young because I realized we couldn't be driving around listening to the heavy metal music I grew up with. Because that's not really good for young ears. Uh, you know, and then like pop music was just like terrible messages. Like
yeah,
especially the pop music of the early 2000s, it wasn't necessarily conducive to little ears. So my wife and I started listening to country music back in the 2000s, and just it's just so great. Like I always like had a thing for any kind of music, but I was never a country guy, but I really started getting into especially from that era, from the early to mid late 2000s. I think that was sort of my go-to for country. The newer stuff these days I don't really rally around so much, but
yeah. Kenny Chesney, Tim McGraw.
yeah.
That's sort of your. Of course, everybody likes Zach Bryan now, right? All
Oh
that
yeah,
sort
yeah,
of,
yeah.
which is good. That's all great stuff.
Yeah, all good.
I like country now.
Do you have a, favorite place that you went to write when you were writing this book?
Oh, I wrote it in 21, and well, we get onto the Keys a good bit. So I wrote some of the book down there in Isla Morada. It only took me about 4 months to write it, so it didn't take a long time. Other when I wasn't at home, that's probably the only place I was when I was away, and that was a great setting right there in Isla Morada.
Yeah, beautiful. I've never been to it. Driven through it on the way to Key West from Fort Lauderdale, but never stopped. And it's on my bucket list.
I'm going there. I'm going to Key Largo tomorrow night playing a golf tournament, so should be should be fun. So
Ah, sounds
two trips in 3 weeks we've been down there. It's been we're kind of spoiled.
yeah, that's all right. It's you can't spoil yourself or your grandchildren. Who can you spoil?
That's right. That's right.
Um, and then what's the best piece of writing advice that you've ever received or that you would offer to an aspiring writer?
Well, yeah, I'm really a novice. I would say, in my case, I just got out there and started doing it. Now, when I was about 70% done, I hired a writing coach, and she was great. She really helped me put a few thoughts together, organize what I was doing a little bit, introduced me to a publisher. Publisher took it first try. So it all so I would say, I would just say do it, give it a try, write, and then after you do it for a little bit, maybe get some help. This writing coach was really helpful.
Yeah, you make it sound easy, you know? Do it.
Well, I mean, it's like a long term paper. I mean, but again, it's a fun book. I hope your listeners, if whoever reads it, will enjoy it. I'm sure they'll laugh a little bit.
Well, I hope so. I know the audience does love to laugh and learn. And last question I always have is sort of the deeper one, which is if you could go back in time and whisper some words of advice into the younger Link's ear, what would you tell the younger Link? I mean, maybe it was that student at Auburn who's facing a big life change, and or it could be your younger self. You could pick the age, but what kind of words of advice would you give your younger self?
And gosh, I need to give my older self the same advice too. I think the thing I'm learning is be quick to forgive. Be quick to forgive yourself. I think many of us have a hard to do. It's hard to do. Be quick to forgive people around you. I mean, we're going to disappoint ourselves, everyone, and people are going to disappoint us. And just forgive, get over it. Don't hold a grudge. Don't We all make mistakes. Keep a relationship. don't let some mistake end the relationship. It's not worth it. The relationship's worth so much more. So be quick to forgive. That's what and especially yourself. Most people are really hard at that. It's hard for people to do that.
Yeah, not to mention just the weight that resentment can bear on your own shoulders. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for your physical health either.
It's just not worth it. And don't fake it. Just mean it. I mean, don't take it too personal. Don't get all caught up in it. It's just get over it. That's that's the best advice I can give anyone.
Well, there you go. Well, Link, tell us, where can people buy The Side Road, Finding Joy and Purpose Through the Twists and Turns of Life?
I mean, you can buy it anywhere books are sold. So it's available wherever you buy your books. And if you want to learn more about it, you can go to linkforresterauthor.com. You can learn a little bit more about me and the book. And but you can order the book from wherever you buy your books. You have to read it though. You can't listen to it. I've been a little spoiled these days. I listen to a lot of books, so but remember, it's a short one. It won't take that long.
There you go. Well, we will put a link to your website and to where people can buy the book in our show notes, so people don't have to scramble for a pen as they're driving down the highway listening to us. Link, thank you so much for stopping by Uncorking a Story and letting me uncork yours.
Mike, great being with you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Uncorking a Story. If you'd like more information about today's guest or to find out more about Mike, go to uncorkingastory.com. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in every week to hear Mike Carlin uncork a new story.